Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to make an owl on our swirly stamp set that we've been working on the last couple of weeks. So let's get started. So we're going to take our Flora and Fauna mini swirl thanks set and a brown ink pad to create sort of our hollow in a tree where our little owl friend lives. Make sure it's well inked, and then just go ahead and stamp it. Voila! We're going to set that aside to let it dry while we make our owl. So we're going to take a 12-inch piece of brown paper, sort of a reddish brown, and put the tail end in our quilling tool slot and roll to the end. I went for kind of a larger owl, so if you'd rather on your card make smaller owls, please adjust the size of the owl body. We're going to pull it off and let it expand. Once it's kind of as big as you'd like it to be, we're going to take some glue and glue down the inside of that tail. Smooth it down and pinch to create a teardrop, but we are actually after a bunny ear, so I'm going to pull it aside a little bit and pinch it again. So that way I have 2 points on a rounded space. Then for the wings, I'm going to take a 3-inch piece of paper and tear it in half, so I now have 1.5 inches on both sides. And I'm going to roll these up to make little tiny wings. This owl never looks like an owl until you actually have it all put together. For the little wings, I don't want them to expand very much because I want smaller wings, because I'm always shocked at how big the wings get when I shape them. So flatten down that tail, and then I'm going to do a squished teardrop, or a flattened teardrop, which means I'm going to try for a point on one end, but it rounded on the other. Then I'm just going to go ahead and immediately glue the wing to the owl body. A little bit of glue here on the side of the wing. And then position it, hopefully not on the floor. A little bit more glue. Our owl already wants to go flying. And put the wing on the side of the owl. Okay, let's try for the second wing here. This little guy wants to go off for an adventure. Again, don't let it expand too much, just so it can kind of match the other wing in terms of size. Smooth down that tail with the glue, and then a flattened teardrop. Put a little bit of glue here on the side, and glue it to the other side of the owl. Okay, perfect. All right, next we are going to get 2 wiggly eyes and a little bit more glue, and we're going to position those wiggly eyes kind of towards those points, but not right up at the points of our owl. And put our wiggly eyes on. I'm using 4mm wiggly eyes. And then we're going to take a very narrow little teeny tiny strip of yellow paper, or a much lighter brown paper if you don't have yellow, and I'm going to do approximately 3/4 inch. So I've cut this quilling paper in half lengthwise, so it's now 1/16 of an inch and then 3/4 inch long. And we're going to roll this up and make it into a tight circle, which means we're going to glue it while it's still on the tool. If you want your beak a little bit bigger, you can go ahead and pull it off and let it expand a little bit before gluing it down. We are making the exact same shape that we just used for our owl wings. So once it's tacked, we're going to pull it off and then pinch it so it's nice and flat, rounded at one end and pointy at the other end. And this is always the fun part of trying to do. So you guys can see what I'm doing. We're going to put a little bit of glue here on the beak. Sometimes it's easier to grab a lot of glue because this is always one where I seem to get it all over my fingers. And then we're going to position that beak right there between the 2 wiggly eyes. Sometimes I need a second corsage pin. I find a corsage pin sometimes is easier to use than a pair of tweezers, because then I can just slide it off rather than trying to get my tweezers to expand perfectly right where I want it to. Alright, so we're going to let our owl dry and finish tacking while we layer up our card. We've got our hollow and some tree paper, which I've cut to fit my A1 size card. So my tree paper here is 4 1/4 by 3 inches. And then our hollow, which was 3 by 2 1/2. You get to decide if you want the extra little fractured swirl on which side. It's up to you. I kind of liked it more on the right, but that's a me thing. You're allowed to decide you want it a totally different way, or maybe you wanted your card going this way. Up to you. Or maybe a few extra little hollows. So I'm going to let my owl finish drying, and I'm going to use one that I made earlier to position him in his home. So I'm going to put some glue here on the back side. I try to catch the body specifically because that's what's going to go places, and a little bit on the wings. And then we're going to position him in his little home, and his beak decided to go very, very crazy. So if your beak and the body seem to go in different directions, I'm just taking a dry corsage pin and working on encouraging it to realign by moving the coils around. There we go. And just nothing else. I know where I want it to go. All right, and there we have our very cute at-home owl. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.